Angie Dickinson has always been a Hollywood star, a woman whose beauty, talent, and presence lit up both the big and small screens. From Rio Bravo alongside John Wayne to Policewoman, where she broke barriers as one of television's first female leads, Angie built a career that inspired generations. Yet behind the glitz and applause was a life marked by heartbreak, sacrifice, and deep personal tragedy. Now, at 93, she looks back not just on her triumphs, but on the painful truths that shaped her journey. A love entangled with power. In the 1960s, Angie met Johnny Carson, who was just beginning his historic run on The Tonight Show. On the surface, they were a glamorous pair. She, the rising movie star, and he, the quick-witted king of late night. But beneath the sparkle was an unequal balance of power. Carson's influence in Hollywood was immense, and Angie often felt her career and independence slipping away as she tried to hold on to the relationship. She passed on roles, kept quiet during disagreements, and slowly realized her world revolved around him. Love, she discovered, could also feel like a cage. Public smiles, private hurts. For millions, Carson was a beloved entertainer. But Angie remembers moments when that charm turned sharp. On stage and in interviews, jokes at her expense left her feeling exposed. What the public laughed at sometimes cut deeply in private. She wanted to be recognized for her craft, for roles in Ocean's 11 and Point Blank, not reduced to punchlines. And though she cherished their time together, she also saw the cracks, jealousy, infidelity, and the loneliness of being in love with someone whose true devotion was to the audience in front of him. A family dream that faded more than career or romance. Angie longed for a stable family life. She hoped to build a home where her daughter Nikki could thrive. But fame's demands and complicated relationships often kept her away. Nikki, born from Angie's marriage to composer Burt Bacharach, was sensitive and struggled to find her place in the world. Angie has admitted with heartbreaking honesty that there were times she wasn't as present as she should have been. It was one of the deepest regrets of her life, a pain that grew heavier over time. Living in Hollywood's shadow. While Johnny Carson's fame only grew brighter as the years passed, Angie began to feel the weight of Hollywood's double standards. In an industry that prizes youth, actresses often find opportunities vanish as they age. Despite her Golden Globe win for Policewoman, Angie noticed that scripts became scarcer, the spotlight dimmer. At red carpet events, questions and cameras seemed to turn toward Johnny more than her. It was a painful reminder that in Hollywood, men were allowed to age into legends while women often faded into the shadows. The silence of goodbye. When Carson remarried in the late 1970s, Angie discovered the news the same way the rest of the world did, through the press. There was no goodbye, no explanation, only silence. That silence became one of the deepest wounds of her life. For years after, she continued to work in films like Dressed to Kill, but the media often tied her name more to Carson than to her own body of work. It was a reminder of how much she had given and how little acknowledgement she received in return. Angie Dickinson's legacy. Today, Angie Dickinson lives quietly, reflecting on a life that was both dazzling and devastating. She is remembered as a trailblazer in film and television, a woman who stood alongside icons yet carved her own path. But her story also reveals the private struggles that fame cannot erase: control, betrayal, loneliness, and grief. At 93, she speaks with candor, not to tarnish anyone else's legacy, but to reclaim her own truth. Angie Dickinson's life is not just a tale of Hollywood glamour. It is the story of a woman who rose, stumbled, endured, and ultimately survived.